Hi, my name is Saundra, and welcome to my channel. Um, this little video is going to be more about letting you know who I am and what I intend for this channel. And that would be to follow me on my little journey of self-discovery. I am going to be 34 in March. I am happily married, and I've been married for almost 16 years. I have struggled with my weight ever since I was a young child. My first diet was when I was 8 years old. My mother padlocked the fridge, and she deadbolted the pantry. She did this because the doctors told her that my brother and I had to be sneaking food to be gaining weight. And this has led me to a lifelong love-hate relationship with food, with what I am supposed to look to for sustenance. By the time I had my first period, I packed on about 50 to 60 pounds within the course of 6 months. And rather than doctors being alarmed by that type of weight gain in a 10-year-old, an active 10-year-old, I rode my bike everywhere. I played with my friends. We ran, we walked, I was an active, average 10-year-old in 1989. So, we weren't sitting at home in front of the television 24/7 like a lot of kids are nowadays. By the time I was 12, I was starving myself. I consumed fewer than 400 calories in any given day, and if one of my friends at school noticed I hadn't been eating that week and they pushed me to have lunch with them, I would eat and then I'd run into the bathroom and throw it up. That way I maintained the idea that I was eating, but of course nothing stayed down long. By the time I was 15, 16, 17, I was a more socially acceptable size. I was not thin, but I was shapely. And I had no problem getting a boyfriend or girlfriend. And I thought this was normal. I thought that this is how I had to be. I had to not eat. And then I met my husband, and we got married while I was 17. And then I was in a whole new world. I had somebody else I had to feed, somebody else who noticed how very little food I consumed, somebody else who held me accountable for my personal health, and also somebody who was actively trying to have a child with me, and we were trying to get pregnant and we couldn't. And so we moved from his hometown of Birmingham, Alabama, down to my hometown of Tampa, Florida. And I started seeing, OBGYNs trying to figure out what was going on, because my grandmother got pregnant at the drop of the hat. My mother got pregnant if she thought about it. So I couldn't understand why I couldn't get pregnant that easily. And the doctor I saw basically said that I was fat, that I weighed too much. I couldn't have a child until I lost at least 25% of my body weight. Which, come on, that's a lot of weight to ask somebody to lose. As if it's just, changing out your shirt. I went home devastated. I was so heartbroken because I was not able to do what I felt a female body should be able to do. I'd always wanted a family, and I couldn't do that. And it was the most heartbreaking time of my life. There was a lot of self-hatred, a lot of self-anger. I injured myself. I cut myself almost a daily basis, and it only got worse because I began to get pregnant but have miscarriages. I had 7 miscarriages by the time I went to see a reproductive endocrinologist upon the suggestion of a support group that I was a part of for infertile women. And I think that when I saw him, he said he had a good idea of what was wrong with me. And he prescribed me blood tests, and he told me to come back for a vaginal ultrasound, which sounds as unpleasant as it actually is. But by the time he printed out that ultrasound screening and sat me down at the table, he had a diagnosis for me. He had my blood work, he had the ultrasound, he had my patient history. A doctor who sat down and spoke to me like a human being rather than a weight, looked at me and said, "You have polycystic ovarian syndrome. You have all of the hallmarks of it. You have so many cysts on your ovaries. You have a thickened uterine wall. You have wacko hormones. Your thyroid is way below normal. You have insulin resistance. And you have starved yourself to the point that your metabolism can no longer function the way a metabolism is supposed to function." I had a name with it, but I also was told that I had done this to myself as well. There were genetic issues, there were health issues, but I then went and made it all worse by starving myself, trying so desperately to be what my other doctors told me to be. And it was hard. I went on medications, and we tried very hard to regulate everything, but in doing that, we also caused another health issue, which was my gallbladder gave out because of the high dose of birth control pills we were trying to regulate my cycle with. And I went into the hospital with the most excruciating pains. And as I'm sitting there, doped up on morphine with a Demerol drip for when that wore off, this surgeon came in and he said, "Although you have 2% functionality of your gallbladder and it is causing you untold pain, and there's no way that you're going to get that functionality back. You're too fat. Go home, lose weight, and then come back to have the surgery." And for 4 years, I tried to lose that weight before the pain of that rotting gallbladder finally drove me to the emergency room for like the 3rd or 4th time. And this time my husband stood up and he said, "You will remove this gallbladder because it's making her sick." And the surgeon came in. It was the same surgeon, and he said, "Okay, we're going to do this." And my surgery went off without a hitch. I recovered unbelievably quickly. I shocked the surgeon. I shocked everybody with how well I was, because that's when I realized that I didn't have to be thin to be healthy. I was healthy. I was mobile. I ate through it, I had learned more about my metabolism, about how it works, how my genetic disorders have influenced that. And I have taken steps to rectify that. And that's what this channel is about. This channel is about a 34-year-old fat girl who has accepted the limitations of her body and who has decided to work within those limitations. And if it means I lose 200 pounds, then it means I lose 200 pounds. If it means I lose 15 pounds, then it means I lose 15 pounds. But this channel is also about not letting the assholes of this world rule my life anymore. No doctor, from looking at me, just looking at me, can tell my level of health, my level of stress, and my self-imposed punishments. And no stranger can do that either. And that's what this channel is about. It's about me and my journey, and whether any of you want to come along with me. If you leave vitriolic, hateful comments, expect them to be deleted or summarily ignored, because life's too short. It is absolutely too short. And I have lived the last 30 years of my life in that shadow of what will that stranger think of me if I leave my house. And no more. So I will be sharing with you recipes and food diaries and talking about my life. Probably weekly. Sometime in the week, I will make one of these videos and chat you up. This weekend, I'm going to Necronomicon here in Tampa. And I am one of the guests because I am a publisher. I am an author. I make jewelry. I write and I publish people's wonderful fiction. And I'm going to have a very good time. I'm going to hang out with people I adore and people I respect. And I hope that all of you out there will also have an awesome weekend. And I will talk to you next week.